A bipartisan group of lawmakers says there will be progress on regulating AI and data centers, but it could be over a year until anything comes into law. Hannah Falcon has more on what's in the works.
Here in St. Charles, local leaders have taken drastic measures to ban data centers permanently within the city. Of course, this is just a microcosm of what's happening across Missouri, with data center proposals popping up in every corner of the state. The Future Caucus, a bipartisan group of state lawmakers focused on Missouri's future, led by St. Charles Republican Colin Wellenkamp. They're vowing now to push for artificial intelligence and data center guardrails next legislative session. I asked if there was any concern about data centers that may be in progress.
It could be a year or more before any legislation goes into law, yet AI and data center projects are moving rapidly. Do you think that there needs to be a special session or some sort of expedited move on this legislation?
Again, I think you're going to find the very nature of a special session means that it is fast and it's usually a binary decision. And for something as technical and as far-reaching as AI infrastructure deployment across the state of Missouri, I think you're going to find folks shy away from that.
Proposed guardrails include protections for residential energy consumers, limitations on AI's use as a health professional, and defining liability in AI's mistakes.
We are all pretty much on the same page when it comes to regulations.
While St. Louis Democrat Kimberly Ann Collins says the caucus is working across the aisle, there are Missourians who want to see a more aggressive approach.
I really believe that a 6-month moratorium throughout the state would be an incredibly big crowd pleaser.
Governor Mike Kehoe is on record saying that he has no plans to call a special session to discuss artificial intelligence or data centers. That means that any bills will have to wait to be introduced until January 2027. Reporting in St. Charles, I'm Hannah Falcon.